So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben.
Congratulations to Latitude Realty, our newest broker in the Rebus University's Preferred Partners Program. Brokers like Ameriteam Realty, Dunes Properties, Impact Real Estate, Long and Foster. Yes, Long and Foster with 11,000 agents in multiple states. Plumtree Realty, Real Estate Professionals, Realty Ohio, Remax Advantage, Remax Essential, Agent Strong. These brokers have taken it upon themselves to get their agents significant discounts on all of the 12 Rebus University courses. Their agents are learning from the best and producing like maniacs. If you're an agent at one of these companies, go to rebusuniversity.com right now and start learning today. If you want unpublished pricing for your agents, like these brokers have done, go to hybendigital.com/teams or simply call Catherine Brower at 843-749-9900. That's 843-749-9900. Your agents will be impressed.
And now for the review of the day.
Okay, I got a great review here on iTunes. Thank you so much. This is from Germ4641. Germ4641. Great content, not great audio. Damn! Sorry about that, Germ. Let me see what this one's about. I'm a huge fan of the show. It's super informative, and they're great guests and awesome content. I would give 5 stars if the audio wasn't so bad. The gain is way too high on Pat's microphone. He always sounds distorted and sometimes way louder than his guests. Yeah, that's interesting. I need to talk to technology about that, I guess. I'm sorry about that. You know, I have a professional mic, and all the guests come on, they usually are just talking into the speakers in their computers. So I wonder if there's something we can do about that. Thank you, Germ, though. I eat feedback for breakfast, and we'll be looking into this.
Keep the comments coming, guys. I love them. And remember, I eat feedback for breakfast, so give me a 1-star review if you want, or a 5-star review if you want. I don't care. And the more reviews we get, the better guests we get. So please, subscribe first, and then leave us a review or wherever you're listening.
All right, Rockstar Nation, I have an old friend of mine from back in the day when I was slinging it, and she is doing some great things and has a lot of good things to say, and I wanted to catch up with her, and I wanted to record it because there's going to be a ton of good stuff here for everybody. So without further ado, let's welcome Missy Miller Aldave to Real Estate Rockstars. Missy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Missy, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself so they can get to know you better?
So let's see. We were just talking about our age, and I got licensed in 1994. So it's been some time. I started as a buyer's agent for my mom, who at the time was, I guess, at Coldwell Banker, and she had always aspired to be at Remax. Back then, it was a real privilege to be at Remax because, for the same reasons, I guess you were there. Alex, who we had both worked for and who was our broker, had a neat location, which was on Route 100. And Nancy thought, what a great opportunity that would give us to really take advantage of sort of a tri-county location. We had access to Howard, Baltimore, and Anne Arundel County, and I've been there ever since, so it's worked well for us. I've transitioned over to be the team leader at the Miller team, and we have several buyer's agents, one of whom is now my sister Megan Miller Minderline, and of course Nancy's still here, still selling homes and absolutely loving it. I have 3 daughters, Madison, Paige, and Andy, all of whom are either in college or college graduates and have been married to the same guy now for 28 years. So it's It's been great, and real estate has been super great to our family. I was in a sales position before working for an insurance company, and I think I looked at real estate as really a way to increase my income, and it's done just that.
Wow, that's amazing. So essentially, you're a mother, daughter, sister team. And do you think any of your three daughters now are going to go into the real estate business?
I have one that's a possibility. My oldest daughter, as I told you earlier, is in New York. She's a trader at Citi, and I don't see her coming back necessarily to Baltimore. My youngest daughter has some athletic aspirations, but my middle one would be perfect for it. So we'll see. No pressure there, but I'd love to have her if she chose the path.
That's cool. That's cool. So, all right. So let's get down to some nitty gritty. So, like, how many houses did the Miller team sell last year?
So last year we sold 152. It was about a volume of about 48 million. We've got about 85 homes under contract and or sold so far this year. And I guess that's about 29 million. That was my latest calculation.
Wow, that's awesome. And so, as we like to say on the show, ECI, ego commission income. What was your ECI, would you say, in the last 12 months?
Well, I don't know rolling 12 months. So 2017 was a little over $1 million, and this year it's about 700,000.
Okay, so $1 million, and then what's your profit margin on that million?
That's a great question, and I was hoping you weren't going to ask me because I'd have to go back and really look and calculate. But I would say we're probably running expenses at about 33%.
So so your expenses are, let's say, 33%, that would mean you made about 650 grand, right? Profit. That's not bad. So, okay. So let's talk about this. So, one of the questions that we always ask on the show, and we usually wait for the very end of the show to ask it. I am going to ask now because I know you and I know your business model, and I think it's a good question to lead into a conversation about how you, your sister, and your mom do business. And so that is this: if I took you, Missy, right, and I put you on an island. Now, this island is not deserted. There's a lot of people on this island. They're buying and selling things. There's commerce. And I put you with 9 other real estate agents. Mm-hmm. And I gave you each $1,000, a cell phone, and a laptop computer. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that you have in common with these 9 other agents is that none of you know anyone. Okay. And I give you 6 months, and whoever sells the most houses in 6 months gets $5 million prize. Oh, how are you going to win this show?
I love that. So honestly, it's how probably I got started with Nancy. We didn't have a lot of technology, if you remember. We had a phone. I think cell phones were relatively new.
Yeah. We had car phones, maybe.
Yeah, I had one in a bag initially.
Yeah, right.
Interesting. I do think we had computers, and the MLS had just kind of moved on to like a real database. Like I think right before I had gotten started, it was a book that got published and would get delivered weekly. So we did have a computer, but when I got started, I was very hesitant to talk to people that I knew. Very hesitant because I was starting a new career. Why would they pick me as their real estate agent? This was a big financial decision for people. So literally, when I got started, Nancy said, look, I've been doing some work with Mike Ferry. I'd like you to go. That's going to be your introduction. So I went, totally grooved on it for the following reasons. I had scripts. I had a phone. I was not comfortable making those phone calls. So in essence, cold calling. And that's really how I got my business started. So it was calling expireds, calling not so much for sale by owners, but just listed and just sold. And I followed his model, and that was to become an expert in a particular neighborhood. And I remember exactly the neighborhood in 1 year, literally all of my business, which was 40 homes at the time, came from that one neighborhood.
So your first year in the business.
It wasn't my first year, but it was probably my 5th or 6th year where I kind of really got the systems down. But I had sold one in there, sold a second one, and then I was like, hey, this really does work. So it was becoming the expert in that neighborhood. But it was only a phone. It was only a crisscross directory, and that was it.
And so your advice is, and this is how you would win the show, is you would get a crisscross directory or any directory with people's names and numbers in it, and you would just
call down,
bang on the phone.
And there are so many great scripts out there, and that's one thing that I felt I did really early on. I internalized those scripts. I knew them. I had them up on my wall. I could go down at any point in time, and I internalized them like they weren't fake. It was, hi, this is Missy Miller with Remax. I just sold 123 Main Street. I know that when a home sells in your neighborhood, generally there's 1 or 2 more that sell right away. We got a terrific price. When do you plan on moving? And no one ever said no, and occasionally you'd get a hang up. But the beauty of it was often they would be like, how did you know? How do you know we were talking about that? It was almost like I had this inside secret. So I would get invited to come out and make a presentation. And that is just such a great way to get started. So if a young person was going to ask me how to get started, this doesn't take a huge investment. And trust me, we're the recipient of emails, try this, do that. It's really getting back to the basics. And we're taking it up a notch where we're sort of using that crisscross directory, but we're incorporating polls, I think is what it's called. We use it now, and you can actually get cell phone numbers.
Yeah.
So I think it's called Cole's Resource.
Yeah, there's a lot of them now, and they have cell phones, which is key, right? I mean, it's kind of cool. It's like your advice is almost like pretend like you're back in time 20 years.
All right, guys. Here at Real Estate Rockstars Podcast and Rebus University, we have been working on a top secret, incredible program for all real estate agents in the world. And I am so excited about this. This is going to be the best thing we have released yet. Now, we're not opening the doors here for this project until July 9th, but I wanted the Rockstar Nation to get instant access, right? I wanted to make sure that they were guaranteed one of the first 200 spots. We only have 200 spots in the beginning here, and I wanted to give that to the Rockstar Nation. So if you would like an early bird VIP to this new project that we're doing, I can guarantee you first notice to get a spot on July 9th. Just go to futureofrealestatetraining.com/earlybird or text the word early to 444-999. First 200 people only. I'm so excited about this, and I'll guarantee you special VIP treatment and early access by jumping on the list for this project. Hope to see you on there.
I don't think it hurts. I mean, it's a model that has built our business. And then, what happens then is you've become the expert in this particular neighborhood. Certainly they have friends, they become your past customers. And today, if you look at my numbers and where most of our business comes from, the majority comes from past client referrals, center of influence. Right now, just my pendings alone, and I feel really fortunate about that, have come from all those people. And it's people that we worked with 10 years ago. I'm now selling homes to their kids or selling their parents' homes. So you've got to get started somehow. And if you don't want to reach out to people that you know because you're new, or even if you're 5 years down the road, it's an inexpensive, great way to build your base and your raving fan base.
Right. And I think the key, which a lot of people miss, is the word inexpensive. I mean, it's essentially free.
Yeah. And I don't want to come across as sounding like I'm frugal and we don't spend money. We do, but for lead generation, I think we've got to get simple again. Online leads are great, but these are not people that know you. They don't know what you're bringing to the table. You're not speaking with them. I mean, if you have some way to communicate, I think over the phone or in person, your results just skyrocket through, and you know that, and I'm sure you've got other top producers that have shared the same.
Yeah, I mean, they don't respect you. They don't know you.
You know?
They don't appreciate you. All those things, right?
Let's also say this. They've also, as you know, they've already reached out to 5 more people in between when they've hit the button on Zillow or they've, texted for more information off our sign. They're not waiting for you. They're not. So it's this huge misnomer. And look, I'm not saying it can't be a part of your business, but it's not predictable. When we get in looking at this, I want predictability. And I know that if I talk to 20 people in a particular neighborhood, I'm going to generate 1 lead. And my stats are probably a little off. I'm a little more seasoned now, and I know the conversations. And let's not call them scripts because people always think that's awful, but let's just call them conversations. I know how many people I need to talk to generate a lead. I know 2 leads generates 1 listing or buyer sale. And then so knowing your numbers and those ratios are key, but it is an inexpensive way to really build your business.
Yeah, I mean, we've had several people on the show, and I've talked to a lot of agents off the show, and it almost seems like agents are coming from 1 of 2 camps. One is your camp, which is an inexpensive, solid way to do it with a high profit margin. And the other camp is certainly a lower profit margin, high numbers, easier to scale to massive amounts, right? To massive teams. But the profit margin is so low. And there's some agents out there, there's a lot of agents out there that are actually spending more money than they're making. And that's the beauty of this is that, it doesn't cost you anything. It costs time.
Yeah, it's time. But look, you're going to you're spending time either way. If you're doing this and this is your career, you've got to hit the trenches. If you don't have any business, if you're setting up a website, that's great, but you have to have a reason for people to go there. And typically the reason is they either want to see your track record or they're looking for homes that you have for sale. So you've got to get started somehow.
Yeah. So Missy, you've been through a lot of ups and downs. You've certainly gotten your head kicked in over the years, as every agent has. What is a failure that you have had that you learned a big lesson from that we can all learn from?
I think probably the biggest lesson was not really keeping an eye on expenses. So that's what's probably taken me back to this conversation is getting, and I hate to point out the obvious, but I would say Zillow, we let our spend keep increasing thinking that, we were getting business from it and the profit margin was great. And initially it was, but I wasn't monitoring it. So it was a good lesson learned, and to be on shorter contracts, if that's something that you're going to do, don't get tied into something that is 6 months to a year, because I didn't read the fine print. I trusted the salesperson that there would be a way to, drop the spend or move it around, and it wasn't possible. So, lesson learned for me. It was an expensive one, but we've changed our position now where, we're looking at driving traffic online. We're looking at, over the phone. You're looking at bringing business in a couple of different ways and not just heavy in one particular area.
Yeah, I think a lot of agents get confused as to the difference between a commission and a lead, and that just because you're getting a lot of leads doesn't necessarily make a return palatable, a palatable return. Does that make sense? And it sounds like you were like, Yahoo, look where, we're getting all these names and people, but at the end of the day, you're like, but you're not really selling that many more houses.
When you looked at, again, the first couple of years were great, but then when you looked at what it translated into business, it just didn't make sense any longer. But I was in there way too long. So that's something that I'm looking at, is if we make a commitment to do something, we're looking at the results. Are we, does it make sense to continue? And what's the return? And if there is none, or there is not much of one, I'm out. So I'm not that agent who, if I'm getting $1 on $100, that doesn't work here. Just doesn't work. And there are agents that doesn't bother them. That bothers me.
Yeah. So let's talk listing appointments. First of all, what percentage of your business would you say is listings versus buyers?
We are like 60-40, and 40 being listings, 60 being buyer sales.
Okay. And so you did 150 deals. So, you certainly listed 65, 70 houses last year. Certainly you had competition on a lot of those. Like, how are you winning listing appointments when you go on them?
I would say the biggest way to win is to be prepared. And I mean, be prepared. I don't turn over my preparation for listings to anyone else, because I want to know going in that I know what I'm working with. So the big prep is to ask questions. So questions like, tell me a little bit about your home, bedrooms, bathrooms. I mean, the basic stuff. But the question that I always ask is there anything when I come out that I will see that will positively or negatively impact the value of your home? And from that, you get a plethora of information. And they will just tell you everything. So typically when I go in, I am not only prepared from a market standpoint, and Catonsville and Baltimore County are a little harder from this perspective. Columbia and Ellicott City, sometimes I wish I had gotten started there, because you've got townhomes that are very similar. You've got single family homes that were built by a builder, and the square footage and the models are, it's one of three. When you get into Catonsville, it's a little harder because construction and aesthetically, they're very different. So I definitely do my homework. I've got a pretty good range as to where I think this home is going to be before I even walk in the door. And occasionally I am stumped, I'll admit, and I go, you know what, thanks for having me out. Normally at this point, I'm able to make a price recommendation, but I've got to go back and do some more research. But I am well researched. I have a listing agreement and I have net sheets. And more often than not, a seller will say to me, wow, you are more prepared than anyone we've ever met, and you know your stuff. So the next question I ask is, there someone here that, meaning if it's a husband and wife or it's a family, that tends to be more analytical? Is there someone? And someone always like, yeah, I'm the numbers person. I'm like, great. So that's the person that typically I spend my time conversing with, because as you and I know, numbers don't lie. So as we go through that, I'm making a case for, here's why I believe your home should be priced here. And typically in a range. But more often than not, I'm complimented because I am prepared, and I'm ready right then and there to take their home as a listing.
And now a word about Rebus University, the future of real estate training, from Buddy Blake of Wilmington, North Carolina.
Hey, Pat, this is Buddy Blake with RE/MAX Essential. It's been a little while since we talked, but I wanted to call you and thank you and your team at Rebus University. We did the Listing Agent University and Listing Specialist course. I did it myself months ago, and I will tell you that was one of the most informative systems I've ever done. It is meat and potato stuff versus the theoretical bullcrap that you see people say and do, and certainly you go to all these conventions and people show you all these whiz-bang new ideas. This was real in the trenches stuff, and I use it myself, and you may not even know it, but we use it for my team. I have a team of about 10, And before I allow buyer agents to take on new listings and become listing agents per se, be able to do listings, they are required to go through this course. Also, we've expanded it out. I have 5 RE/MAX offices, and we've got over 100 agents in our company, and a good percentage of them are now taking this course as a training program, especially new agents that we onboard that are brand new into our system. We require them before they can go on their first listing appointment to take and pass this entire course. It is the best thing that's out there right now.
If you're interested in your agents having a better closure ratio than any other agent competing in your market, go to hybendigital.com/teams to get group pricing. Get every one of your agents certified like Buddy Blake does.
So it sounds to me like you're basically reading your own market analysis as if you would read a legal contract before you even get there, right? You're sitting down with the underlining, highlighting.
Yeah, I mean,
I
just,
very, very aware. You're not just showing up.
No, not just showing up. I mean, that's probably the thing that's disappointing is when I do lose a listing, it's a little frustrating because I know I've spent a lot of time and I'm ready and I know that I'm the best person to get their home sold and I know what the number should be.
And so what else would you tell me, right? If I was considering listing in my house and I had 2 or 3 other agents I was interviewing, right? And they're all, let's say the price is the price, or let's just say they're going to steal your price and list it at your price because you did all the research. So how are you going to win on the other side? How are you going to win on?
I have one page that has 5 bullet points as to why we think we're the best at what we do.
There we go. Okay, what are those 5 bullet points?
So, and you didn't ask me for that, so I don't have it in.
It's all right.
But I would say the number one thing is we are full-time agents and we have a system to get your home sold to take you from A to Z. And that's kind of the basics.
Kind of a cliche though. Like yeah.
It is a cliche, but you know, it's very difficult as you can explain to a seller to really understand all the ins and outs of Zillow's important. Is my home going to be on Zillow? Are you going to try to get my Zestimate up? They know that if I'm sitting at that table, and that's one of the things I share with them, it's impossible for me to be this great salesperson and get your home sold.
Okay, so talk to me about that because I don't know about that. So you actually tell them, as part of my service, I'm going to try to get your Zestimate up because it could screw you.
Well, there's a way that you can go in if you're a premier agent and just make sure that the information is accurate on there, that you're accounting for square footage, that you're accounting for bedrooms. And that Zestimate does change. So whether you're in agreement with whether you like Zillow or not, or you don't like their Zestimates or you don't, the general public has bought into this. So we approach it that, yes, we do use them. Yes, we're going to advocate for building this better in Zillow, so it's really reflective of your home. So we do advertise there, and that's one of the bullet points. It's not, again, as much as it used to be, but it's important to be on there and to be able
That's kind of cool, yeah. And they just say, look, I'm going to do a Zillow audit for you.
Oh,
it's a Zillow audit. Oh, yeah, well, this is what we're going to do.
To make sure that the information is in there. I mean, they've created a great thing, and then it's a time-consuming thing, but you've got to have someone that's monitoring that.
You can do a tax record audit too.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how all of that changes up, and it changes week to week, and I never thought it did, but, occasionally you'll go in and, rooms are gone, or, things just aren't reflected correctly. So that's certainly part of it. We do use professional photography. Every home has its own website. And I've gone from using brochures and flyers to text to call for information so that it's a call capture system. So anytime anyone presses that button, it's a lead generation tool, and we're on that call within 5 minutes.
And what would you tell them the benefit of a family team is with me, my sister, and my mom?
Well, I would say this is, if I'm sitting here with you, and a call comes in about your home, your expectation is that I am not going to pick up the phone and take that, correct? And they're like, yeah, that would be awful and rude. And actually, I got a listing the other day because a seller said to me, how come you haven't picked up your phone? And I said, well, this is about you and your home. This isn't about what's happening in my life or who's texting me or who's calling. And he said, I'm hiring you because the last agent who was here, he took phone calls while he was here and he texted people. And honestly, I was sort of shocked. I mean, I know I'm old, but if you're on a listing appointment, that hour should be about them and not about what's happening. So in your life or anyone else's life for that matter. So big tip, like, you know, unless the flood is coming down the hill, you might not want to pick up your phone.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a great strategy. I love it. I think you could actually build on that.
Basic thing, like it's just basic. Like treat people with respect. Treat their time as if that's a privilege. They've invited you into their home. Why would you take a phone call?
Right. I mean, you could say, listen, I left my phone in my glove box, and I will stay here as long as you need me to today. I've blocked off the afternoon with you or whatever.
Yeah.
And then every week after this, I'm going to have a video meeting with you for a half an hour, and my phone will also be turned off, and it'll be one-on-one. And we will continue this video meeting until, you know, the house is sold, settled, whatever. And my point is that you will get undivided attention, undistracted attention. You won't get short answers. You won't get one-word answers. You won't get cryptic things you can't understand via text or social media. Everything will be here, and you'll actually be able to see what's going on in my office and what we're doing, and I'll be able to show you on the screen what I've done and what your file looks like, and we can read through documents together, and we can just, I mean, just by showing people that you can give them focused here and now presence, you could build an entire, whatever you want to call it, an entire way of doing business.
Well, and again, it's maybe getting back to the basics, but I think, you know, it's an appointment, and it's for them, it's like a doctor's appointment. It's a financial advisor's appointment. I mean, if you and I walked into our financial planner and, you know, as you're trying to figure out how you're going to grow your wealth and they're taking phone calls, you'd probably walk out of the room. I would have some big questions like, you know, this is really important to me. And you have to remember that we're handling, in most cases, someone's largest financial investment. And that time it's critical. I think the other thing that you talked about, and we make this as part of our commitment is, and I do it religiously, and look, there are weeks it's hard. Fridays come and they're busy and we're anticipating the weekend, but I make a commitment to every seller. We will talk, or you will hear from me every Friday. Now, we might not connect, but I leave them a voicemail and just say, hi, it's Missy. I'm just checking in. As I promised you, we had 5 showings this week. It appears we have 1 interested party, or maybe we have no one interested. And you know what? Let's go the weekend. We're holding an open house, but I think we need to connect this time next week to really talk about what we're going to do to get your home sold. And that's over the phone, and it's an easy communication. Do I always want to do it? No, because there's weeks that sometimes go by and I'm like, why the hell is this home not sold? Or what am I
Right. You run from it. Yeah.
What you want to run from it, but you got to confront that, because this is your job. They have hired you for market information, communication, and ultimately to get it sold. And it goes back to, if they're not happy and you're not performing, they do not then become one of those past customers that continue to build your business. And that's how I really look at it is, if I've upset this one person or disappointed, or I haven't followed through, I lose that person for life, because they are never going to refer me again. And that is critical to me moving forward and this business moving forward.
And you're probably going to hold, you know, by facing it, you're going to keep the listing rather than lose it. I mean, imagine if you, I heard Chris Christie on TV the other day when he was saying he made a statement that was very impactful. He said it's harder to hate up close.
Yeah.
And I really think that if you were up close with your clients, and again, this is such a cliche and so old school, like you said, but if you were up close with your clients once a week, it'd be very difficult for them to fire you, especially if they're looking at your face on a video screen.
And they know that you're doing something.
Right.
The worst part is, and this has happened in the past, because you get a seller that's just, you're just not, you're so far apart, you just can't even, I say to myself, how did I ever get here? Honestly, I mean, we've all had them, and I'm not going to lie, and I'm sure they're thinking the same about me. But as soon as you let it go in that direction, it is so hard to get back on path. So, if you've said, here are your commitments, keep them and do them. And they know that you're working on it, versus if you go out of communication and then, of course, you post on Facebook that you're sitting at the beach and a seller has access to that. Worst possible combination. And listen, when your phone rings, when you're sitting on the beach, it's because you have not done your job.
Right.
You're trying to spend time with your family and the phone rings. You're like, so here's what I do. Get it done during the week, so that when you're home on Saturday and Sunday, or you're spending time with your family, your phone's not going to ring. And
you don't feel guilty. Yeah.
You're not taking that awkward phone call. It's just
because you had a pre-programmed call with them already.
You're done.
And you're done, and you told them that, hey, got a soccer match, or I got a.
Well, I don't even think you need to share that. I'm not one about sharing that, but I think this is a business, and you've communicated what's going on as it relates to their home, and here's what we're doing, and here's what we're going to get done. So just my thoughts.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, Missy, listen, as you know, everybody that comes on the show brings a gift for our audience, and we put it in a toolbox. We call it the Agent Success Toolbox. And what I'm going to do is put it on hibandigital.com/Missy Miller. I'll make it easy. MISSYMILLER. hibandigital.com/Missy Miller. All of Missy's contact information will be on there. If you want to send her a referral or reach out to her and say thanks for sharing, as well as her social media profiles, that sort of thing. But also, we're going to put her free gift there. So, Missy, what is your free gift today?
So the free gift, we did a lot of soul searching at the beginning of the year about, quite frankly, we had lost contact with a lot of our past clients and center of influence. So I sat down and talked to a lot of people, from mortgages to insurance people, like how are you staying in touch with people, and what have you done to get back into rapport, or get back in touch with people? So we developed a postcard, and oddly enough, it's been very successful. It's you'll see when it's on there, but I just felt like I was in communication with that 10% of our past clients, and I wanted to bring people back into the fold. I just felt like, we had worked with all these great people, and we just, I for whatever reason, and it's a function of getting busy that you don't do those things. So I wanted to be genuine in reaching back out to them. So the number one postcard is that, and then the second one is just a follow-up to that, and then we have a third one going out. It's going out quarterly, and basically I sat down and talked with an advertising group, and they said, you don't even have to change the postcard. You can change the message, but it's that you are reaching back out, and that it's a genuine effort offering a little something of value. So I wanted to share that with people who perhaps were in our same shoes, felt like, they had this huge database, but wasn't getting anything out of it, and how to kind of reconnect back with them.
That's awesome. That's awesome, guys. So that'll be on hibandigital.com/Missy Miller, and it will also be on hibandigital.com/toolbox, or you can text the word toolbox to 444-999 and get the entire toolbox with Missy's postcards and tons of other items of utility that other agents that have been on the show have supplied to our listeners for free. Missy, this has been awesome. Great catching up with you. Please tell everyone hello at RE/MAX Advantage, my stomping ground for 15 years. I miss all you guys, and hope to connect with everybody again soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Good connecting.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Estate Rockstars. If this free content is giving you a ton of value, I want to ask a small favor in return. I need you to pull out your pointing finger and hit the subscribe button. Yes, hit subscribe, please. The more subscribers that we get on Real Estate Rockstars, the better guests are attracted to the shows. We'll get more guests from the top companies, from the top teams, and even more celebrity guests like Robert Kiyosaki and Barbara Corcoran. Also, if you're not a member of our free Facebook group, go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio right on Facebook and join the conversation. I'm on there myself on FaceTime Lives, and we have a lot of communications and questions about the show, and I'd love to see you there. And it's free. People ask me all the time, where am I on social media? I'm real easy to find. Just type in my name. My IG is I am Pat Hyben. It is blowing up on Instagram, adding tons of subscribers, and I'm on there probably twice a day. So definitely follow me on Instagram, as well as everywhere else. Thanks again for listening, and keep rocking.